Hello everyone, today in Philvy's story I will be baking a marble butter cake, and I got this recipe from one of my DHM member. Her name is Sweetie Pie. I will leave the credits and also the full recipe right down in the description box below, so you may refer to that. Do preheat the oven to 170 Celsius while preparing the ingredients. And to make a marble effect, we need chocolate paste, so I'll be adding some chocolate powder and instant coffee into a bowl, and then add few tablespoons of water, hot water, and make it into a paste. Coffee powder will enhance the chocolate, but if you don't like coffee or you're serving to kids, then I recommend that you can just use chocolate powder. Once the chocolate is ready, just set it aside and let it cool down. I will be using two types of mixer. One is stand mixer to beat up the yellow batter, and then also a hand mixer to beat up the meringue. In my stand mixer mixing bowl, I'll add in butter and sugar. I'm using salted butter here, so if you're using unsalted, do remember to add in salt together with the self-raising flour later. And I recommend to, in our hot weather, Malaysia is very hot, so the butter cut into small pieces and leave it out for 10 minutes, then you can start whipping the butter with the sugar. This will make sure that you'll get a nice stiff peak buttercream texture, rather than if you leave it out too long, the butter will start to melt and it will not incorporate the sugar well, and you'll end up with a puddle of melted butter, a grainy melted butter. So use a cold butter, but not too cold where it's difficult to whip in. About 10 minutes after you're taking out from the fridge, it will be fine. Then whip until it's white and fluffy. Usually takes about 5 minutes on my stand mixer. If you're using hand mixer, it will take a longer time. Once you get the nice buttercream texture, then add in the egg one by one. This recipe is more or less like the famous Mrs. SK Ng, if I'm not mistaken. I only can remember Mrs. SK, but whether is it Ng behind, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's Mrs. SK butter cake, but it's 4 egg yolks and 5 egg whites, while that recipe is 5 egg yolks and 5 egg whites. So the reason of adding in egg one by one is to build up the structure of the cake, and when you add in the egg, start with slow and then turn it on to medium high speed, and let each turn whip for about like 30 seconds before you add in the next one. According to my experience, if a butter cake is not properly built, the structure, usually it will collapse or it will turn into a kueh sort of texture. So be patient with the process. Do it one by one at a time and don't rush through it. So once all the egg has been added into the yellow batter, I'll get this like thick buttercream texture, and it's smooth. And now it's the time to incorporate in the self-raising flour and also the milk in 3 additions, not all at once. So I will be just adding in a third of the self-raising flour into this yellow batter, and I'll be using my stand mixer folding function to mix in the flour. If you're using a stand mixer and you don't have a folding function, it's okay, you can use the minimum speed button. Or if you're using a hand mixer, I recommend you to use a spatula to incorporate the flour into the batter so that you'll not overbeat the flour into the batter, and that the cost of overbeating the flour into the batter will be having a tough cake, which is dry and not that fluffy. So fold it in gently, and then once you see the flour is more or less incorporated into the batter, then it's time to add in the milk. Half of the milk, not all, yeah, just half of the milk. And I spilled the milk a little bit, but it's okay. And I'm using this Takumi Nano tablecloth, and I love it so much because normally when I want to beat my meringue, I will have to clean the bowl with the vinegar and a kitchen towel to make sure that it's oil free. But now with that tablecloth, I got one specially just for me to wipe the mixing bowl. With that, it gets oil free, so I will always have a nice beaten meringue. Anyway, back to the batter. We are gonna make this in 3 additions, so the same. Once the milk is incorporated well, add in another third of the self-raising flour. It does take a while to build this cake up, but then the end result is amazing. The taste is so good. Anyway, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so by clicking on the red subscribe button, and also turn on the notification so that you will not miss any uploads from me. While the mixer is mixing and incorporating the self-raising flour and milk into the yellow batter, here I would like to inform that I will be holding a giveaway video soon. Hopefully I can get it done by April, so that yeah, hopefully that I will get it up on April, and I hope there will be a lot of support on the giveaway video so that I can manage to get more giveaway videos for you guys. And the content of the giveaway video, you guys will have to wait until April. Then back to the yellow batter. Once everything is incorporated in, then it's time to add in a bit of vanilla essence. And now the yellow batter is done. Always scrape and then mix it well, because some parts of the flour and vanilla may not mix in, so always use a spatula to mix it again. Then to make the marble effect, we need a yellow batter and also chocolate batter. So take about a third of yellow batter into a bowl, because that we will mix with the chocolate paste that we did earlier. I eyeball the third of the batter, so there's no purpose to weigh it actually, so just eyeballing will be good enough. And as for how much chocolate paste to add in, it will depend on how much chocolate batter you add into the one to make it. So here I roughly put about 3 teaspoons, and I'm quite satisfied with the color, so just leave that aside. If you're having more yellow chocolate batter, you may want to add in more chocolate paste. So anyway, we need the egg whites. We need to turn the egg whites into meringue, so beat up the egg whites until it is foamy, and then add in cream of tartar. Then also gradually add in the sugar in 3 additions. Then gonna beat these egg whites until it's firm peak. how do you define firm peak is when you pull up after you beat it until you can you feel that it's stiff but not overly stiff. After soft peak, then you have to be careful around there. Try a few times, pull it up and down. Once the meringue can stand up and then with a little hook on the top, then it's firm peak. So should stop beating it and set this aside. So again, I eyeball a third of the meringue into this chocolate batter, and because how do you say, the batter itself, the yellow batter and chocolate batter itself is a little bit thick, so incorporating the egg whites into the meringue into the yellow batter will take a little bit of effort, and you can see like there's air bubbles everywhere compared to if you're making ogura cake or chiffon cake. The yellow batter is usually quite runny, which you can easily incorporate the meringue into the yellow batter itself. But try your best not to overmix the yellow batter, the meringue into the yellow batter and the chocolate batter. So here I have a big batch of yellow batter here. I put half of the meringue into the mixing bowl, give it a well mix, folding it properly and gently. Then after that, I'm going to transfer everything here into the meringue bowl because it is easier to mix while using a mixing bowl rather than this big heavy glass bowl. So as you can see, the batter is still pretty thick even though already added half of the meringue. Fold it gently and then incorporate the meringue well into the yellow batter. I am using a square pan, a 7-inch square pan, or recommended you can use a 8-inch round pan. Then I lined it with parchment paper, both sides, so it's easier for me to pull it up later. Then just randomly add in the the yellow batter and then the chocolate batter. If you don't have a parchment paper, you can always grease the pan with some melted butter or oil. Then, or if you have used a removable type of pan, then it will be easier to remove the cake. Once added in all the batter, then I use this scraper to scrape everything and try to make it as flat as possible. Then use a chopstick or a knife or anything, and then just randomly draw a few design on the cake. The chopstick need to poke into the cake batter and then draw whatever you want. This will give a mix so that you get the marble effect. If you like it to be more mixed up, then you draw more lines in it. If not, just a few lines also will do. Then again, scrape it to flatten it and then bang it on the tabletop a few times to remove the air bubbles, and then bake this with in a 170 Celsius oven for about 75 minutes. And I also added a bowl of hot water. This will keep the cake moist in the oven. I changed the temperature from 170 Celsius to 160 Celsius about 30 minutes after I put it into the oven. After 75 minutes, the cake is done. It got a nice brown top and then the toothpick comes out clean. Removed it from the pan immediately and then let it cool down for about 1 to 2 hours before you slice it up. Compare this to Mrs. SK recipe Mrs. SK recipe, I usually get a nice flat shiny top, but this one there's a lot of air bubbles on top. But once you cut it up, it looks okay, and it tastes, if to compare, I find this one tastes better. You may try it out and see. Thank you for watching. Bye.